Chapter 26 Parkour Master. Damn. That's so cool. Taking Zombie Horde out for a ride late at night. Is he pushing his limits? The fat man trembled with excitement. His face flushed red, as if he were running down the street. He immediately took out his phone and started recording. The phone's camera is excellent. It's clear enough to be seen even at night. His name is Joan, a normal and ordinary college student. He was about to skip his evening class and go out to play online games when he arrived in this apocalyptic world. He was not very brave to begin with, and at first he didn't even dare to leave the house. It took him a lot of effort to clear out the zombies in those rooms and get some supplies. Joan was about to release his video when he discovered that someone had already posted about it on forum, and it had become a hot topic. This means there are other people nearby, which makes Joan quite excited. If he can find people to stick together, surviving in the apocalypse might be much easier. Humans are social animals by nature, and everyone understands the principle that there is strength in numbers, which applies in most cases. However, he glanced at it and found that the post only contained pictures. He's determined to be number one on the hottest posts tonight. Mediocre. A pro parkour videographer. Anyone nearby? Looking for a group. Video. Looking at the post he had sent out, Joan himself began to get excited. Posting a thread that becomes a hot topic not only allows you to find others to band together, but also provides some spiritual comfort in this apocalyptic world. The feeling of being the center of attention is really great, even if it's just on a forum. Sure enough, the post quickly became a trending topic. Reply 1. Did you guys notice that the expert in the video looks a lot like the expert who went rope skiing before? Reply 2. Holy crap, I didn't notice before, but now that you mention it, it seems to be true. Judging by his physique, he's definitely the rope skipping master from before. Awesome. Reply 3. The rope skiing master is either courting death or on his way to courting death. I'm envious. I want to jump off a building and run freely in the streets too. Reply 4. If you're still alive, let me know when you come back, and I'll give it a try too. Reply 5. I just heard a roar, but I only saw hordes of zombies rushing by, not the big boss. The original poster and I are probably in the same area. Let's team up. Upon seeing this, Joan realized it was indeed the rope skiing pro from before, and exclaimed, the big shots always choose the method that gets the most responses. They can take the stairs but choose to slide down the rope, and they can do things during the day but choose to do parkour at night. Then, he began contacting people nearby via private messages to discuss strategies for forming a group, and a smile unconsciously appeared on his face. At this moment, Su Chongqing was far from as relaxed as he appeared. Running at high speed, he could not afford to make the slightest mistake, and his stamina was being rapidly depleted as physical strength is depleted. The likelihood of making mistakes increases. Su Chongqing saw a large pile of abandoned vehicles ahead, their rusty bodies gleaming silver in the moonlight, exuding a desolate and silent atmosphere. This car accident must have occurred after the apocalypse, and by then no one had cleaned up the scene. As Su Chongqing's eyes lit up. Wasn't this his home turf? His climbing skills could be put to the ultimate use in the constantly undulating terrain. With a series of fluid movements, kicks, braces, and somersaults, Su Chongqing raced across the rooftops of the car, his black coat billowing in the cool night breeze. In just a few dozen seconds, he quickly widened the distance between himself and zombie horde behind him, and the pressure on him immediately lessened considerably. My goodness, this might be a parkour master, but I've never heard of such a person before. Joan gasped, his heart filled with shock. He felt as if Su Chongqing was flying between vehicles. He quickly started recording the next video. I want to share this feeling of awe with others. Mediocre. The Flying Master Part 2. Video. Reply 1. I thought it was clickbait, but when I looked, it really was flying. This is definitely a famous parkour master. I wonder if anyone can recognize his real identity. Reply 2. I love parkour, but I've never seen this person before, because his movements are not the usual parkour moves and techniques. Instead, they have a rock climbing feel to them. He must be a master from the community. Reply 3. Huh? What are you guys discussing? Just say awesome and that's it. I'd call this person a master of apocalyptic survival. Oh. After driving past the accident site, Su Chongqing saw a glimmer of light in his field of vision, which was incredibly clear in the darkness. This is Mysterious Shop. Just as Su Chongqing had predicted, Mysterious Shop happened to be nearby. After carefully calculating the distances, Su Chongqing discovered that the locations of the 3 mysterious shops formed a roughly equilateral triangle. This is an amazing discovery, showing that the location of the mysterious shop can be traced. Wu Wenbi looked at the A01712 mysterious shop not far away and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. It really wasn't easy for them to get here. These zombies are really too troublesome. Even after some of them have been lured away, they are still difficult to deal with. More importantly, 4 of their members were killed in the accident, leaving them with only 9 people, a severe shortage of personnel. Wang Hu, go directly to A01712 to exchange for supplies and record the rare supplies there. A person completely covered in thick leather clothing replied, okay, leave it to me. With this equipment, the zombies definitely won't be able to scratch me. I can just charge in. To this day, no one has been able to explain the infection mechanism of zombies, but everyone assumes that being scratched by a zombie will definitely lead to infection. There are a lot of zombies here, and Wu Wenbei's tactic is very simple. One person rushes in to exchange for supplies, while they temporarily fight off the zombies outside. Once the zombies come out, they immediately evacuate. The 10 people formed an arc and moved forward slowly, appearing well-trained and coordinated in a methodical manner. Suddenly, a man with a braid tied behind his head and bare chest looked ahead and asked in confusion, "What's that sound?" A faint commotion could be heard coming from the other side of the street. The group looked at each other, somewhat bewildered. A large number of zombies are approaching. Wu Wenbei reacted immediately and decisively ordered, "The situation has changed. Full speed ahead." He wanted to take over Mysterious Shop before the zombies arrived. After saying that, Wu Wenbei took the short sword and charged forward. With each swing, his arm left several afterimages in the air, and the 2 zombies in front of him were instantly pierced through the forehead. The zombie horde's voice grew louder and louder, causing everyone's hearts to tremble. Involuntarily, one of the men, who was holding a rusty wrench, couldn't help but say, "Captain Wu, why don't we retreat first?" Wu Wenbei's expression shifted between light and shadow. Each Mysterious Shop was related to his resource allocation, specifically the distribution of rare resources. If he can acquire this Mysterious Shop, he will have a chance to get another speed boost. Having made his decision, he said, "Let's keep going. The sound is still far away, and it's not necessarily coming this way. We can retreat as soon as we see the zombies." Hearing this, the others felt reassured, as Wu Wenbei still held a high position of prestige among them. Chapter 27 Hidden Attributes. As Su Chongxing ran, he saw Mysterious Shop gradually revealing its full form and noticed that there were other people on the street ahead. There were quite a few people, about 10. He was outnumbered and wanted to turn around and leave, but zombie horde was behind him, so he had no choice but to grit his teeth and keep running forward. Wu Wenbei still saw the surging zombie horde and a boy running wildly at the front. He couldn't help but curse in his heart. Who is this? Is he crazy? Leading zombies around in the middle of the night? He took a deep breath and had no choice but to abandon the Mysterious Shop for the time being, ordering, "Let's go, we're leaving now," etc. He suddenly noticed that the boy was holding a steel knife and carrying a backpack. Wasn't this the murderer's characteristics that Black Third had sent before he died? As the 2 sides drew closer, Su Chongxing keenly realized that the leader of these people was the same man in Windbreaker he had seen at A0171 Mysterious Shop. Enemies meeting are bound to be filled with hatred. Su Chongxing didn't know if the other party recognized him, but he had already recognized him. He was initially a little sorry for attracting zombies, but now he felt no guilt whatsoever. He suddenly began to sprint at full speed, not caring if he was exhausted. As long as he could reach Mysterious Shop, Wu Wenbei saw through Su Chongxing's thoughts and said coldly, "I'd like to see what you'll do when you come out." He was furious at Su Chongxing's actions. His original plan had been completely disrupted, and now he could only lead his men to slink away as Su Chongxing arrived in front of the Mysterious Shop, followed by the zombie horde. Due to exhaustion, Su Chongxing was slower than the zombie behind him. "But that's enough. I'm sorry, everyone," Su Chongxing shouted with a hint of a smile, standing in the white light. Seeing this, Wu Wenbei and his group were dumbfounded, and someone shouted, "That kid is too cunning. In order to prevent us from getting supplies from Mysterious Shop, he actually brought in zombie horde. It's harmful to others and not beneficial to himself." Su Chongxing blinked, feeling innocent. It was all just a coincidence, a pure accident. Then his figure disappeared into the white light. Having lost their target, the zombies naturally vented their anger on Wu Wenbei and her group before swarming away. Suppressing his anger, Wu Wenbei shouted, "We definitely can't outrun them. Retreat into the alley and go upstairs. This is currently the wisest course of action." Using the terrain of the stairwell to defend against zombies, 10 people retreated towards the passageway, but before they arrived, one of them tripped and fell into the zombie horde. Within seconds, his body was devoured by a large number of zombies, leaving not even a trace. However, this person's death also bought space for others to retreat, so it wasn't a completely pointless death. Wu Wenbei led his men to retreat all the way to the top floor. The longer the battle line was stretched out, the more advantageous it would be for them. Su Chongxing slumped in the space of Mysterious Shop, panting heavily. Even running at full speed, he couldn't sustain it for long. Zombies, on the other hand, can maintain top speed for extended periods of time. These zombies are like they have unlimited stamina. It's simply unscientific. He couldn't help but complain as he slowly stood up from the ground, feeling the space was very cool. "Is the temperature adjusted according to my comfort level? That's really high-tech." He went to the blue screen and browsed through it. Sure enough, this Mysterious Shop has never been developed before. It's still very pure. Su Chongxing's first thought was to look at the rare resources at the top, which was his primary purpose in taking such a big risk. Whether it was attribute enhancement or skills, it was fine, but attribute enhancement would be better. Perception enhancement, extremely rare. 3,000 points. Perceptual reinforcement. There is clearly no perception attribute in the character attributes list. Is there such a thing as hidden attributes? Open the item description. Perception enhancement. an attribute most people have at 0, this is a crucial pivot point. Activating it might grant you a sixth sense. Those who can see the essence of things are often not the most intelligent, but rather those with innate talent. Sixth sense? Could it be some kind of ability to foresee danger? Su Chongqing didn't think too much about it. There was no harm in exchanging the money. The metal sphere shot him another milky white beam of light. The world around him seemed to have changed in some way, yet it also seemed unchanged. His body was no different from before. Hiss, I feel like I've been tricked. Su Chongqing felt somewhat helpless. It seemed that the 3,000 points had been spent on a strange attribute, and he couldn't see any practical use for it. He felt that it would be more worthwhile to strengthen strength or speed. However, this item is of extremely rare quality, which means that Mysterious Shop considers perception enhancement to be better than speed enhancement. With 7 minutes remaining, Su Chongqing began examining the other items inside. Surprisingly, this Mysterious Shop has a much wider selection than the previous store's 0.550 ml water. Quantity 20, 2 points compressed biscuits. Quantity 10, 4 points iron bar. Quantity 5, 20 points. There was a lot of stuff, but Su Chongqing definitely couldn't take it all with him because there were still a lot of zombies outside. He redeemed all the compressed biscuits. Each box was small enough to fit easily into his backpack, and he even managed to squeeze in 7 bottles of water, spending a total of 54 points. As for the other items, Su Chongqing browsed through them and bought a pair of black leather gloves for 10 points. Total points. 1021 Name. Su Chongqing Strength. 4. Stronger than the average human. Speed. 4. Superior to average human speed. Physical condition. 3. Average human level perception. 1. Something that most humans don't possess. Spirit. 5. Far superior to that of ordinary humans. Status. Minor injury assessment. You have a certain degree of premonition about danger, or you can judge things intuitively, but this feeling is very mysterious, sometimes present and sometimes absent, and may not appear when you need it. You may be able to go further. Every time there is a major change in an attribute or state, the evaluation will also change. Su Chongqing does not know the source of the evaluation, nor does he know who is giving the evaluation. However, it seems that these evaluations are still based on some evidence, and he is able to glean some important information from them. From the evaluation, he could basically confirm that the so-called perception and sixth sense were related, but it seemed to be related to something else important as well. Putting on gloves, Su Chongqing straightened his clothes, preparing to face the zombies. Outside, he knew nothing about the situation outside and felt somewhat uncertain. A white light flashed before his eyes, followed by a cacophony of roars. He saw a large number of zombies looking at him at the same time. The previous zombie horde is still here. Chapter 28 Jumping off the rooftop? Is this a setup to trick me? Su Chongqing noticed that the group of people hadn't gone far, but instead went directly up to the building next door, causing some of the zombie horde to still be piled up on the street. A series of roars exploded around him, and pairs of dark red eyes flickered in the darkness as the piled-up zombies surrounded him. Knowing there was no way to force his way out, Su Chongqing made a quick decision. He braced his left foot against the wall, grabbed the metal sign sticking out from the shop next to him with his right hand, and began to climb up the red brick wall. The zombies beneath him missed their target. They couldn't climb, and could only roar helplessly from below. Su Chongqing discovered a problem. Mysterious Shop was actually just a layer of light and shadow. The original shop in this location had not disappeared. It was just covered by the light and shadow. So this is just a teleportation point set up here. The Mysterious Shop is in another space. This is not much different from what Su Chongqing had expected. The so-called Mysterious Shop is the Doomsday Games intervention in this world. 1 floor, 2 floors, 3 floors. Su Chongqing was worried that if the building was too low, the zombies would follow him up the stairs and climb all the way to the 6th floor before stopping, breaking the window with their steel knives and climbing in. Upon entering the house, he saw 2 zombies roaring as they charged toward him. It really is like a persistent ghost. Su Chongqing cursed loudly and quickly raised his steel knife to slash at one of the closer zombies, while simultaneously moving to the side to dodge the attack of the other zombie. With the sound of skull shattering, the steel blade pierced into the zombie's forehead. Looking back at the remaining zombie, which was in the same spot as Su Chongqing turned around and kicked the zombie out of the window. He's still alive. Su Chongqing glanced at his phone. There was no kill notification. The 6th floor wasn't enough to kill a zombie outright, unless it was higher, in which case the impact would be enough to smash its brain. Su Chongqing drank some water and rested quietly for more than 10 minutes. While he kept hearing roars in his ears, he knew that those people were being attacked in a building next door. Meanwhile, Wu Wenbi and his men held the rooftop door shut, constantly wielding their weapons to resist the zombies' onslaught. Wu Wenbi's combat prowess is astonishing. Every attack he makes pierces the forehead of a zombie, and his attack frequency is extremely high. For a short time, they managed to hold off the zombie horde, killing off every zombie that entered, and the area in front of the rooftop was piled high with zombie corpses. However, there were too many zombies, and eventually, some people ran out of strength. A man holding a wrench, looking dejected, managed to force a zombie to rush in, forcing the others to retreat and causing even more zombies to surge. In 0.10 seconds later, Wu Wenbi heard a scream and saw Wang Hu, who was covered in clothes, fall among the zombies. The thick clothes could not stop the zombies' teeth and claws. The others looked terrified. One death meant another would follow, so they all started to back away, which only made more zombies rush, and Wu Wenbi's face showed anxiety as he shouted, "Don't retreat! The number of zombies is decreasing. We can win!" His movements quickened, and his entire body was covered in black blood. Seeing that the number of zombies was indeed decreasing, the others managed to maintain their momentum and fight the zombies with their last breath at the same time. Wu Wenbi slowly pulled herself back to maintain a relatively safe environment. He may seem brave, but he only acts when it's safe to do so. If he senses danger, he will immediately abandon these people and retreat alone. He is a steady person. Oh, Su Chongqing thought for a moment and decided to leave. He was worried that Man in Windbreaker would bring people to seek revenge, but there were too many zombies below. Going down would be dangerous. The only option is to move to the upper floors. He went to the room across the street, cleared away a zombie, and observed the surrounding environment through the window, estimating that he could jump from the rooftop to the building across the street. Following the stairs, Su Chongqing arrived at the rooftop of this floor and witnessed an extremely bloody and cruel scene. The rooftop of the adjacent building was covered with zombie corpses, and a thin layer of dark red blood spread across the floor and flowed down the drain. Among them were 4 or 5 human corpses, mangled and ravaged. The whereabouts of the others were unknown, and the Man in Windbreaker was not among the bodies. Based on his intuition, the Man in Windbreaker posed the greatest threat to him. Be careful, as Su Chongqing murmured to himself. He knew this man would probably retaliate against him like a madman, trying every means to kill him. No one can tolerate such humiliation. Putting himself in Su Chongqing's shoes, if he were the Man in Windbreaker, he would probably see himself as the culprit behind everything. Looking back, these people were really amazing. They managed to fight off a group of zombies and some of them survived. This requires not only strong combat capabilities from each individual, but also good teamwork and execution skills. Ignoring the few scattered zombies on the rooftop, Su Chongqing walked to the edge of the rooftop and looked at the rooftop of the building opposite. This distance is nearly 10 meters, which is impossible for an average person to jump over. Su Chongqing's strength and speed far exceed those of normal people, so he can jump over it, but he needs to sprint a little. Faced with this scene, Su Chongqing felt a strange sense of familiarity, and a classic movie line suddenly came to mind. With great power comes great responsibility. The roar of zombies came from behind him. He sped up and ran forward, stepping onto the edge of the rooftop railing, his body flying high into the air. He knew he could definitely jump over it, but his heart was still pounding uncontrollably. A human instinctive reaction to danger. The dark alleyway below was like an abyss. His body drew an arc in the air and landed heavily on the rooftop opposite. He looked back and saw the zombies behind him leaping over and falling from midair. The other zombie was smarter. It just watched and roared from the edge of the rooftop, but didn't jump over with Su Chongqing. Is it just my imagination? This zombie seems a bit different from others. Su Chongqing frowned, but didn't pay too much attention. This world is inherently irrational, and even the most irrational things are reasonable in themselves. He walked to the exit in the middle of the rooftop and found that the rooftop door was locked from the inside. So he went to the edge of the rooftop and found a suitable spot to climb down. On the floor below the top floor. He climbed in through an open window. The smell of blood. Su Chongqing smelled a faint scent of blood, which was probably human blood. He looked around but didn't see any zombies, only a human corpse on the ground next to him. The body didn't have many wounds on its surface, but the back of its head was covered in thick blood, and its face was congealed with despair. Clearly, this person did not die at the hands of zombies, but was killed by other humans. He suffered a severe blow to the back of the head, resulting in massive brain hemorrhage and death. Chapter 29. Seeking revenge at night. After searching the surrounding area, Su Chongqing couldn't find the man's phone, indicating it had been stolen. He encountered a man who had been robbed of his points and died so easily, and he realized that the entire building had been cleansed by that organization. As expected, Su Chongqing checked several floors down and saw multiple zombie corpses, and even another human corpse covered in bruises, who had been beaten to death with a stick. It seems this building has indeed been cleared out. There are no zombies or living people. Su Chongqing looked thoughtful, but in that case, this place was actually a safer place for him, so he found a room in a corner, locked the door, opened his sleeping bag, spread it on the floor, drank some water, and crawled into the sleeping bag to sleep. The hairs on his body stood on end. Su Chongqing opened his eyes as if startled awake, a chill running down his spine as he sensed danger. Before he could even get up, he heard a loud bang. The door was kicked open with great force, and pieces of the wooden door scattered everywhere, scratching his hands. Standing at the door was the man in the trench coat. His eyes glowed with a faint blue light in the darkness, making him look quite eerie. His body covered in black blood made him look like a demon crawling out of hell as Su Chongqing squatted down, confirming that this was not reflected light, but the light emanating from his eyes. He looked at the man and smiled. "So you've been looking for me all night?" Wu Wenbi's face was cold as he said, "Because of you, 9 people in our team died. Killing you wouldn't be too much of a deal, would it? Su Chongqing slowly reached for the steel knife beside him, holding his breath and concentrating. The man in front of him was putting a lot of pressure on him. Seeing Su Chongqing's little tricks, Wu Wenbi smiled mockingly, took a big step forward, and thrust his short sword at Su Chongqing. The two were about 3 meters apart, and in theory, Su Chongqing had every opportunity to pick up the steel knife and fight back. But suddenly he felt a chill run down his spine. Guided by instinct, he abandoned the steel knife and rolled backward at Wu Wenzhou's short sword. Halfway through its swing, suddenly accelerated, transforming into a blur and slicing through the air with a sharp sound. Su Chongqing narrowly escaped this fatal blow. This was definitely not a normal sword swing. The man possessed some kind of power that allowed his hand movements to suddenly accelerate. Wu Wenbi showed a hint of surprise, feeling that the boy's reaction was too fast. He even started to dodge before he even attacked. Was he anticipating the attack? But it's not a big problem. He's absolutely confident he can handle this seemingly young upstart. Wu Wenbi stepped onto the steel blade, a victor's smile on his face, and said, "It's not easy to possess such a weapon, but unfortunately, it's not suitable for me." Su Chongqing was now at a complete disadvantage. He had no weapon and was no match for the man. If he had the steel knife, he could have put up a fight. Su Chongqing's expression turned serious as he smiled and said, "Isn't your victory a bit unfair?" He still had one chance, a hand axe in his backpack. If he could get his hands on the axe, he could launch a counterattack. The backpack was right next to his feet. "You took down 4 of my teammates, so don't underestimate me." As Wu Wenbi spoke, he charged at Su Chongqing, the short sword in his hand drawing an arc in the darkness. Aimed directly at Su Chongqing's face, Su Chongqing had no chance to pick up the hand axe from the ground and had to retreat again. Fortunately, the man was slightly slower than him, so dodging was not difficult. "I know you still have a hatchet on this backpack. The videos on the forum have already exposed you." Wu Wenbi smiled smugly, looked at the backpack on the ground, and exclaimed, "There must be some good stuff inside. Too bad I got them all. Take it if you like." Su Chongqing said calmly, cursing the person who filmed the video in his heart. If he caught that person, he would definitely make him suffer. As Su Chongqing successfully dodged Wu Wenbi's attack once again. But Wu Wenbi had forced him to the inside of the room. He was now in a dead end. There was nothing around him that could be used as a weapon, and without a weapon, he had no chance of turning the tide. Meanwhile, Man in Windbreaker is a formidable opponent who gives no chance whatsoever, and more importantly, his fighting skills far surpass those of Su Chongqing. However, Su Chongqing has not yet revealed his weaknesses in combat. If Man in Windbreaker knew that his combat skills were so weak, he would probably launch a full-scale attack directly. Holding a short sword, Wu Wenbi probed Su Chongqing's movements, forcing him into a corner of the room. Away from the window, Su Chongqing immediately realized that Man in Windbreaker had probably seen him climbing the wall beforehand, and this was to prevent him from escaping by jumping out of the window. He couldn't force his way out by jumping out of the window. Given the power of Man in Windbreaker, he couldn't even withstand a single attack as the distance between the two drew closer. The space for Su Chongqing to hide became smaller and smaller. Wu Wenbi's hands blurred once more as his short sword slashed towards Su Chongqing. This time, Su Chongqing was unable to dodge again and could only watch helplessly as the short sword slashed a bloody wound across his chest, burning but not causing too much pain. Because Su Chongqing was still trying to dodge, the wound wasn't too deep as Su Chongqing, clutching his wound with one hand, had been cornered in the room, but his expression relaxed as he calmly said, "I wonder if there's a compromise, like me joining you and serving you." Wu Wenbi's smile widened. He loved seeing his opponents begging for mercy. It gave him a sense of superiority. He chuckled. "Actually, you're not bad at all. You're fully qualified to join our Dawn, but I want you dead. Maybe if it were someone else, you would have survived. Haha. That's a real shame," Su Chongqing said regretfully, a glint of light flashing in his eyes. Instead of retreating, he advanced, one hand protecting his head, the other hanging down, as he bent down and rushed towards Wu Wenbi, looking like he was fighting for his life. Wu Wenbi's face showed disdain. If he fought so desperately, this boy posed no threat to him. He accelerated and thrust his sword towards Su Chongqing's chest. That sword strike was indeed fast. Before Su Chongqing could even touch him, the stab had already entered his body. However, because he had crouched down beforehand, the stab only pierced his shoulder blade, avoiding vital organs. The moment Su Chongqing was stabbed, he grabbed the man's sword-wielding hand with one hand and reached for a brand new steel knife on the ground with the other. He then raised it and slashed at the man's head. The situation reversed in an instant, with the advantages and disadvantages switching places. Wu Wenbi's face showed a look of horror. He didn't understand why a steel knife had suddenly appeared on the ground. He tried to pull back his hand that was holding the sword, but found that the boy was surprisingly strong. He could only watch helplessly as a steel blade, gleaming coldly, slashed horizontally towards him, accompanied by a fierce whooshing sound that he saw death. It was as Su Chongqing swiftly and decisively cleaved the man's head, warm blood exploding in the air. Possessing the talent to split open heads, he could easily pierce a person's skull. The immense force transmitted from the steel blade sent the man crashing to his side, slamming to the ground, and he died before he could even scream. Chapter 30. The dawn arrived. Su Chongxing wiped the blood from his face, a smile playing on his lips. He coughed and muttered, "Cough, cough, cough. In the end you were careless. If you had taken a step back and attacked my vital points, I would have been the one to die." The short sword was still embedded in his chest, piercing through his shoulder, and blood continued to seep from the blade. Su Chongxing took a deep breath, suddenly pulled out his short sword, and gasped in pain as his clothes on his chest were gradually soaked with blood. He needed something to stop the bleeding, so after thinking for a moment, he cut the man's clothes into strips with his short sword and used them as bandages to roughly stop the bleeding on his chest. This level of destructive power is truly monstrous. The shoulder blade is even fractured. What kind of ability is this? A superpower. Su Chongxing guessed that this man probably already possessed such abilities before the Doomsday Game, but considering that something like the Doomsday Game existed, it's not surprising that he might have superpowers. It's just that he was originally from a very low social class, just an ordinary commoner, and had never heard of these things. Su Chongxing's right arm is basically useless. Any movement will tear open the wound and cause a lot of bleeding. He picked up Wu Wenbei's phone with his left hand and robbed her to plunder the eliminated player, gain 1,100 points total points. 21 inch after killing so many zombies. This is all the points he has? It seems he didn't have many points to begin with. Su Chongxing estimated that this man had already used points once, and it might have been the speed of enhancement, which matched his superpower perfectly. Open your phone and check the properties. Name. Su Chongxing strength. 4. Stronger than the average human. Speed. 4. Superior to average human speed. Physical condition. 3. Average human level perception. 1. Something that most humans don't possess. Spirit. 5. Far superior to that of ordinary humans. Status. Seriously injured. Assessment. Your injury is severe. A rudimentary bandage won't improve your condition. You need treatment or you will bleed to death. Humans are sometimes so fragile. Even a small wound can be fatal. Su Chongxing also felt a bit more serious. Without much hesitation, he put his sleeping bag into his backpack, placed the short sword inside his coat, and posted a message on the forum to sell the steel knife. Lucky kid. A steel knife in 80% new condition, 500 points. Contact me if interested. Reply 1. It seems the expert has even stopped liking steel knives and switched to better weapons. Reply 2. No points, no points. You only get points by killing zombies, but killing zombies requires weapons, and weapons require points. It's a vicious cycle. Who can break this cycle? Within minutes. In the prime of life. Contacted him in the prime of life. I want this weapon. Lucky kid. Okay. Let's trade directly. A flash of white light appeared, and a steel knife with a chipped blade appeared in the hand of the middle-aged man wearing sunglasses. He chopped with gravity many times, so he must be quite strong. However, his technique was very rough, which caused the blade to break badly. So he must be an unorthodox practitioner. The middle-aged man, wearing sunglasses, looked at the steel knife in his hand and made a judgment. With a casual toss, the steel knife flew straight out and pinned a zombie to the wall from the forehead. Right in front of him was a mysterious shop. I in the prime of life. If you have any extra weapons, as long as they're good, I'm willing to consider buying them. Lucky kid. Okay. Su Chongxing carried the steel knife out of the room and went upstairs. The massive blood loss had made him dizzy, and in his current condition, there was no way to move him to another place. He could only gamble that man in Windbreaker hadn't reported his location. Gamble that Dawn wouldn't send anyone to check before dawn. In the room at the very edge of the top floor, Su Chongxing closed the door. I spread a sleeping bag on the ground, lay down on it, and forced myself to fall asleep quickly despite the intense pain throughout my body. That he also possesses a special ability, a power generated under the influence of the drug, which allows him to regenerate blood while asleep. This regenerative ability is quite good and should be able to heal his injuries, at least preventing him from bleeding to death. After an unknown amount of time, Su Chongxing slowly opened his eyes. It was already quite bright outside, around 8 or 9 o'clock. The pain in my body has disappeared, and I am now experiencing a strong feeling of hunger. Su Chongxing took out his phone from his pocket and glanced at it. It was 9:40. He slept for more than 4 hours. He lifted the bandage on his chest and found that it had scabbed over and even grown new flesh. The serious injury status on his status bar had also changed to a minor injury. I've basically recovered in just 4 hours. This recovery ability is simply insane. I'm afraid that as long as the injury isn't life-threatening, I can fall asleep and not die. Su Chongxing couldn't help but sigh. Although his superpower was not obvious, it was still very powerful, at least in terms of survival ability. Using his short sword, Su Chongxing opened a can of mung beans and ate it with bread. He finished the whole can of food and bread, and even drank a bottle of water, but he still felt very hungry. Is it because my superpowers have consumed too much energy that I feel so hungry? Or is it because my body is now stronger that I naturally consume more energy? Su Chongxing analyzed himself, and only after exchanging for another large loaf of bread and eating it did he feel satisfied. After quickly packing his backpack, Su Chongxing decided to leave immediately, as the people from dawn might come knocking at any time, and this place was probably not far from their settlement. My luck was really be it as Su Chongxing had just reached the top of the stairs when he heard a discussion coming from below. Captain Wu Wenbi actually died. He was an ability user. The killer is no simpleton either. He is incredibly strong. With just one blow, he forcefully split Captain Wu Wenbi's head in two. If the force had been any greater, his head would probably have been cleaved in two. Do you think the killer might still be here? Let's be careful. Probably not. If he wanted to run, he would have run already. Why would he stay here guarding the body? Unless he's crazy. Su Chongxing tiptoed back to the room he had just been in, intending to climb out the window onto the rooftop and return the way he came, not planning to continue this pointless entanglement with these people. But he saw that there were also people on the opposite rooftop, seemingly checking the surroundings. Startled, Su Chongxing immediately shrank back behind the wall to avoid being seen by that person. There seemed to be quite a few people from Chenxi nearby, and both paths leading away were blocked. He turned and went to the room opposite, looked out the window to make sure there was no one outside, then climbed out the window and started to climb down. Although it has more than 10 floors, it doesn't consume too much physical strength because you have to climb down. Upon reaching the 5th or 6th floor, just as Su Chongxing thought everything was going smoothly, he unconsciously turned his head to look, and his heart suddenly jumped 3 times.